I had just finished my confinement and brought some chicken soup to the hospital to visit my husband. Instead, I walked into the obstetrics and gynecology department to find the whole family crying with joy. My widowed sister-in-law posted on her WeChat moments, "I'm everyone's favorite, and the baby in my belly is our little darling. I'll be the most beautiful sister-in-law and live the best life." In the photo, my in-laws and my husband were surrounding her, and she held a B ultrasound image against her stomach. Not long after, I received a private message from her. "I don't know if the child should call James Carter dad or uncle." Hee. After reading that, I felt like I'd fallen into an icy abyss. Her child was in her belly, while mine had been aborted forced by James Carter before we even got our marriage certificate. He had said, "Emma Thompson, my parents are extremely traditional. Do you really want them to know you got pregnant before marriage?" When those memories came flooding back, I threw away the chicken soup and turned our wedding room into a mourning hall. I invited both Buddhist and Taoist families to pray for my child's soul to be reincarnated, and I live-streamed the entire ceremony. I wanted the Carter family to pay for what they'd done. At the center of the mourning hall, I placed the only B ultrasound image of my child. A white banner with black letters read, "Aborted your own child and raised an illegitimate one." My husband had broken into his widowed sister-in-law's room in the middle of the night. The live stream began. I sent a message to my uncle. "Suspend all projects for James Carter. Pull the funding." It was as if God himself had blessed the stream. In less than 10 minutes, 20,000 people flooded in, and the comment section exploded. Miscarriage justice? Husband sleeping with sister-in-law? What kind of monster is this?
Dig deeper.
Someone found her account, Sophia Bennett, the so-called beautiful sister-in-law of James Carter. Her husband had been dead for 3 years. She was 2 months pregnant carrying her brother-in-law's baby and had forced her sister-in-law to have an abortion. What a messed up family. The Carter family is living like it's still the Qing dynasty, someone commented. 1 husband, 2 wives? This is criminal. As viewership neared 50,000, James Carter called. He must have seen the stream. In the past, I was the one begging him to pick up the phone. Who would have thought James Carter would one day be desperate to find me? My emotions were all over the place, but I answered. On the other end, he roared, "Emma Thompson, you're insane. I'll have PR clean this up immediately. Your sister-in-law worked so hard to get pregnant, and now you want to kill 2 people with 1 corpse." I chuckled coldly.
I'm crazy.
James Carter, when you lied to me, secretly got Sophia Bennett pregnant and forced me to abort our child. Did you ever care how I felt? Your family flaunts its joy, but did you ever think about where my child is? You Carter people love to act first and explain later. Fine. There's life and death, joy and sorrow. If your family gets weddings and funerals at once, shouldn't that make you happy? He went silent at my sarcasm, then exhaled and said, "After my older brother passed, my sister-in-law didn't want to live alone. This was an accident. Can't you be more understanding? I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd do something extreme. I'm only the child's biological father. My sister-in-law and my parents will raise him." I laughed bitterly. She didn't want to be alone? She goes to bars every night and spends 70 or 80 grand a day. That's called seeking death? She sleeps with 7 or 8 male models a week. That's her coping mechanism. Before marrying into the Carter family, I had no idea Sophia Bennett lived one way online and another behind closed doors. And now James had the nerve to say she didn't want to live alone? That was the biggest joke of all. Thinking of their so-called conservative family values, my voice rose sharply. The Carter family values tradition, but she can sleep with anyone she wants, while I'm expected to bear the chastity arch. James Carter, your double standards are revolting. Again, he was silent. I couldn't hold back my rage. How exactly did Sophia Bennett seek death in front of you? Was she wearing a nightclub outfit and a bikini, shaking her body and whispering that she didn't want to live? James snapped, shouting hysterically, "Don't use your filthy words on my sister-in-law. You went to a third-rate college. How could you possibly understand what it means to suffer more than death itself?" Filthy? Third-rate? I laughed through my anger. You're clean? Yet you crawled into your sister-in-law's bed. You went to a top-tier school, but even animals know not to graze near their own nest. You? You don't. Emma Thompson, you've lost your mind. James couldn't argue back and hung up. I wiped my tears, thinking of my poor child, and forced myself to stay strong. I stood before the camera and shared my story with 50,000 viewers. It was me who pursued James Carter. After love at first sight, I chased him with reckless passion. For more than 6 months, it was all one-sided until he finally accepted me and asked to get a room. Later, I got pregnant. James Carter proposed quietly, but only on the condition that I get an abortion. Girl, you were being played. I sorted out the timeline. The day that scumbag asked me to get a room, Sophia Bennett had posted sexy photos hugging 2 male models in a hotel. The scumbag never loved me. He used me to provoke Sophia Bennett. Wait, I found something, someone commented. Hotel records, James Carter and Sophia Bennett. I stared at the barrage of revelations flooding the screen and quickly pieced it all together in my mind. It turned out that what I had mistaken for patiently waiting for the clouds to clear was just James Carter using me as a tool because Sophia Bennett hadn't responded to him. Even my child, because I was naive and clueless, became a prop in their twisted love game. Just when public outrage began to grow on my behalf, members of James's PR team and the building's property management forced their way into my apartment, trying to shut down my live stream. I immediately grabbed my backup phone and called the police. I have every right to mourn my child. If any of you dare lay a hand on me, I'll jump right now with 30,000 people watching. You'll all be murderers who drove me to suicide. That threat worked. None of them dared touch me. Instead, they called James Carter. I knew he'd come back. I opened the urn he had prepared long ago and took out his most prized possessions, his Ivy League diploma, the luxury watches he never let me touch, and his precious metals from the safe. I dumped them all into the urn and doused them with gasoline. The live stream viewers erupted in cheers. The PR and building staff were frozen in disbelief. James Carter burst in, and Sophia Bennett followed close behind. When he saw the brazier, he slapped me hard across the face. You think you haven't embarrassed yourself enough? You clung to me like a pathetic dog. If I'd known you were such a lunatic, I'd have married an actual dog instead. He ripped the ultrasound photo from the shrine and tossed it into the flames. Stay quiet and behave, and maybe I'd still let you be Mrs. Carter. But now you're willing to die over a piece of paper? The flames consumed the last trace of my child's image and existence. The rage inside me exploded. I slapped James across the face. The sound echoed through the room. A piece of paper? Fine. Then your garbage means nothing too. I hurled the urn into the fire, and the flames engulfed his diploma. Emma Thompson, you're insane. Are you out of your mind? James shouted, pale as he realized what had burned. He reached into the fire, but Sophia grabbed him, cradling her belly and looking pitiful. James, the degree can be reissued. It's not worth it. He sighed and relented. Then Sophia turned her gaze toward the camera, lowered her eyes, and sighed deliberately. Sister-in-law, I know you're upset about the baby I'm carrying, but he's innocent. Sophia, this child means so much to you, but a nobody like her can't understand that, she continued dramatically. She thinks an Ivy League diploma is no different from some worn-out ultrasound photo. James Carter, your sister-in-law's too dense to understand, so don't blame her, she added, eyes dripping with fake empathy. How much longer are you going to keep up this act? Of course, having an out-of-wedlock baby is meaningful, so meaningful that a regular woman like me obviously can't grasp the majesty of this bastard's divine reincarnation. I'd had enough of the Carter family's veiled jabs and open contempt, and I wasn't holding back anymore. You think I'm crazy? You're the ones who are crazy, I shouted as James pointed at me with a face twisted in fury. Tell me, how far are you going to take this? How much more shame will you bring to the Carter family? I grinned into my live stream camera. I'm just giving you back what you gave me. What? You can dish it but can't take it. Everyone, please take note, this man graduated from a prestigious university, slept with his sister-in-law, looks down on working-class people, and calls his wife crazy. Tap your screens and share this. Fire, health code violations, tax fraud, come on. Let's say hello to the Carter Group's entire empire. Emma Thompson. James growled, his teeth clenched, his voice trembling with rage. Do you even understand the consequences? Can't you see what you're doing? Are you really this insane? If you don't stop this, you're out of the Carter family. I saw how his face had turned a sickly shade of purple from anger and smiled coldly as I pulled out my second phone. I played a video at full volume. In it, his uncle was at the dinner table cursing and boasting. Who cares about the quality of sanitary pads? Use the money on PR. Send the certified ones for testing, but sell the cheap OEM garbage. If something goes wrong, blame the customers. Those idiots always think they're the problem. I had recorded this and sent it to James before, urging him to do something about it. He promised to fire his uncle, but nothing ever happened because the Carter family is rotten to the core. Emma Thompson, what are you trying to do? James screamed, lunging to smash the phone. I stepped back and pointed to the camera. James Carter, you promised to remove your uncle, but he's still factory director. When the scandal happened, I was the one who calmed the clients, offered compensation, and begged them not to report you. And now you pretend like you're untouchable? I've had it. This wasn't the first time James's sanitary napkins had caused a PR disaster. I had advised him to reform, and he claimed the problem was fixed. But according to my viewers, not only was his uncle still in charge, but he had just flashed a brand new Cullinan SUV on social media. Meanwhile, when other customers complained, Sophia's fans accused them of being paid trolls and smeared them. When backlash grew too loud, the Carter PR team threw me under the bus. I had bowed and scraped to appease customers, smiling like a fool just to make peace. Once the post was deleted, Sophia's fans celebrated as if they had won some grand battle. You go clean up the mess, they told me. Emma Thompson, you're shameless. Do you have no self-respect, they said. Sophia always takes the lead to protect James's reputation, and you just ride on her coattails. How dare you claim you helped? Sophia clutched her stomach, leaned on James's arm, and gave a couple of carefully timed sobs.
James.
Back then, I worked nonstop with my fans, fighting those trolls. I fainted at home from low blood sugar. She turned her tear-filled eyes to the camera. I know my sister-in-law hates me, but can't we just talk about the facts? Can she trample on all my efforts? I sneered. You worked hard, didn't you? Sophia Bennett looked away, unable to meet my eyes. I turned on the live stream again and connected the microphone. Passers-by who had seen me before raised their IDs and began speaking on air. I reported James's sanitary napkins under my real name due to serious safety issues that caused infections. I purchased them 3 times from Sophia Bennett's live stream. I have the shopping records, inspection reports, and complete evidence chain. I reported it 3 times, but Sophia and her fans shamelessly exposed my identity online. If Sister Emma hadn't begged me, I would have sued her into the ground. More women who had encountered similar issues came forward one by one. Sophia's face turned pale. James's PR department informed him that the company had received a flood of complaints. The media was now camping outside the corporate building, and the authorities had started an investigation. I turned to Sophia and asked coldly, "Didn't you say you appeased them? Then why are they all saying you exposed them online?" She stammered and gripped James's arm in panic. I scoffed. You're the first to call doxing appeasement, and still have the nerve to take credit for it. Shameless. You're good at pretending to be a saint. You seduce your married brother-in-law, flaunt your pregnancy, and play the victim. You've hit all 5 moral evils. I shot a contemptuous glance at her tight, low-cut dress and ridiculous high heels. Claiming you wear heels to protect the baby? Even with a bastard in your belly, it doesn't stop you from parading around for attention. I clicked on your marketing talent and thought it was borderline. Turns out even borderline girls have more dignity than you. My gaze fell to her belly, and my chest clenched. I'd like to know, are there 17 or 18 different bastards and they're waiting to find out who's the father? Sophia flinched, and James immediately stepped in, shielding her. Emma Thompson, are you rabid? You're biting everyone now. I was done talking to him. I grabbed a handful of ritual rice and threw it in their faces. Your mouths stink. I'm cleansing your bad karma. Sophia shrieked. Rice stuck to her makeup, and James wrapped his arms around her. Hold down this crazy woman, he yelled. You're the ones who should get out. Get lost, you disgusting hypocrites. Emma Thompson, this is my house. Get out of the Carter family. Your house. I snapped. This is legally marital property, you arrogant fraud. You and Sophia Bennett are the ones who should leave. James's expression twisted. You forced me to do this, he said, exchanging a glance with the PR director who nodded. Suddenly, my phone lost signal. The live stream cut off. Even the emergency call didn't go through. I realized James had jammed the entire network. James Carter, why don't you go block the whole country while you're at it? I snapped. I'll drive you insane, he growled. He kicked out the monks and priests performing the ritual, then turned and kicked me to the ground. Send her to the sanatorium. Emma Thompson has completely lost it. I tried to run, but several nurses in white hazmat-like gear pinned me down. They injected me with sedatives. As the world blurred, I heard Sophia's sarcastic voice. James Carter, since your brother and sister-in-law need a speedy recovery, why not let her test the new drug? Perfect for our new Carter-funded project, he laughed. I woke up in a hospital bed, strapped down, with 4 pumping unknown drugs into my veins. The Carter family stood nearby, gloating. I told you marrying a country girl would bring disaster, James's mother scoffed. Now she's finally being recycled. She's not totally useless, his father added. Now that she's declared mentally unstable, custody is with our son. We can do whatever we want. James hugged Sophia possessively, sneering as I opened my eyes. You pathetic woman. You're trash. This is just the beginning. Sophia leaned over, oozing smugness. She doesn't even understand human language. All we can do is test more drugs on her to repay her debt. She's getting off easy, James agreed. I writhed and screamed inside, remembering how I had once saved James from ruin, how the Carter Group had resurrected overnight thanks to my connections and resources. I hated him. I hated all of them. As I began to struggle harder, Sophia grabbed a kettle from the side table and poured boiling water toward me. In that moment of pure desperation, the door slammed open. A flying kick knocked the kettle into the air, splashing scalding water all over Mr. and Mrs. Carter. Their screams filled the room as my cousin stormed in and punched James square in the face. How dare you lay a finger on my cousin from the Thompson family, he roared. Chapter 5. My cousin wasn't alone. My uncle rushed in behind him and immediately untied me while a doctor examined my wounds. Facing the group of powerful men now standing around me, James paled. The arrogance melted from his face as he recognized my uncle. Mr. Emma, he stammered, trying to force a smile. Why are you here? My uncle didn't spare him a glance. He clutched me gently, his hands trembling with rage and pain. Miao Yun, uncle's late, but you don't have to be afraid anymore. The Thompson family will make everyone who hurt you pay 1,000 times over. Tears burst from my eyes the moment I saw my family. Uncle, brother, I thought I'd never see you again, my uncle's voice cracked. You've suffered, my good child. My cousin's face was dark with fury. Detain them all, he ordered. Illegal confinement, medical abuse, and human experimentation, the entire Carter family's going to prison. Uncle, brother, I want a divorce, I said, standing taller now that I had my family behind me. My elder brother gently patted my head and threw a thick stack of divorce and property settlement documents in James Carter's face. You Carter people are blind pigs mistaking stray chickens for phoenixes, he spat. Emma Corporation is withdrawing all investments from James's immediately. Since you like kneeling on the ground and begging, enjoy eating dirt while you're down there. James staggered backward, stunned. Emma Thompson, you lied to me. You're from the Thompson family? You're their daughter? His face twisted with disbelief and fury, like he had been the true victim in all of this. What did I lie to you about? I sneered. You think the Carter family clawed their way back to the top on their own? Without my silent approval, do you really think the Thompson family would have bothered looking at a nobody like you? My gaze shifted to Sophia Bennett's pale face. Or, do you seriously believe the Carter comeback was thanks to a few flirty live stream sessions? I used to like you, so I handed you resources. Now I hate you, so you deserve to rot. I turned to my uncle. Let's go. James Carter rushed to block the door and ripped the divorce papers apart. No, I don't want a divorce. You don't get a say, my eldest brother said coldly. The Thompson family has enough lawyers to crush you in both civil and criminal court. Then, without another word, he picked me up and carried me out. Emma Thompson, James lunged forward. My uncle spun and slapped him so hard blood sprayed from the corner of his mouth. He tried to resist again, but the bodyguards pinned him to the floor. He clawed at the carpet, screaming, "Emma! Emma Thompson!" But my brother didn't stop. That night, I was admitted to the ICU. As I lay in bed, news flashed across the projector screen. A massive scandal had broken out at James's sanatorium. Within hours, hashtags about James's illegal detainment and medical testing surged to the top of major platforms. Even the morning footage James once paid to have scrubbed from the internet had resurfaced. My phone vibrated constantly with calls from unknown numbers. James Carter, no doubt. I didn't block him. I wanted him to know what it felt like to search for someone in vain. James's collapse was just beginning. The sanatorium had issued only a vague statement about closure, but James's daily chemicals sealed off on the same day. Was in deeper trouble. The factory his uncle ran was empty. Bloggers rushed in and exposed the place. They found dozens of marketing department computers and nothing else. Independent investigators traced the product's sanitary pads, facial towels, skincare, cosmetics, even mother and baby goods, and discovered they were all outsourced to shady, unlicensed factories. Conditions were filthy, materials were scattered and rotting, and the raw ingredients for Sophia's own beauty brand reeked of chemicals. One popular blogger dry-heaved live in front of over 30,000 viewers. Sophia's live stream was bombarded. Her fans didn't even dare to comment. Within 30 minutes, her account was permanently banned. Executives were arrested, summoned, and plastered across every major platform. James's stock price plummeted like a guillotine had dropped. Investors, sensing disaster, dumped their shares en masse. The moment shareholders realized Emma Thompson had exited long ago, panic swept through the boardroom. Holes in funding widened. It wasn't just bleeding cash, it was hemorrhaging to the bone. As the saying goes, when the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. James's newly consolidated management team resigned en masse. His uncle's corrupt behavior had long sparked internal discontent. Many used the media storm to expose the company's inner rot. The brain trust vanished. What remained was blood and bone, broken and beyond repair. The company shut down. James Carter could no longer fake success or strut around his social circle. Sioux Corporation and its affiliates swiftly absorbed the talents, fleeing James's like rats from a sinking ship. My eldest brother wasn't done yet. To rub salt in the wound, he funded a full-city light show that openly mocked James Carter while poaching his people. The Thompson family made a public show of severing ties with James. The industry noticed. Influential voices spread the signal, and company after company began cutting James off like a disease. James Carter, already reeling, finally collapsed under the pressure. Exhausted and ruined, he returned home only to find Sophia Bennett in the middle of a violent brawl with her new lover. With the Carter family spiraling, she had moved on without hesitation, throwing herself into the arms of another man, indifferent to the unborn child she claimed to cherish. Furious, James fought the man, unaware that this new lover was a notorious second-generation heir. Worse yet, his brother was also in Sophia's room. The two men ganged up and beat James to a pulp, tied him up, and left him gagged and naked in the bedroom. He could only watch, helpless, as Sophia and her new sponsors indulged themselves right in front of him. Afterward, the trio filmed James's humiliated state and mocked him on camera. The footage was quickly leaked. It went viral. Even I saw it. In the background, Sophia's saccharine voice dripped with venom. "You were just a placeholder. Did you really think I liked you? You're not as handsome as your brother, not as smart as my new man. Only Emma Thompson was blind enough to treat you like gold. Ha ha ha." I could almost picture James's face twisting in shame as he heard those words. He had truly believed Sophia was carrying his child, had even murdered our child for hers. Now I understood. Maybe my baby had chosen not to be born, unwilling to carry such blood. Because some pain, when forced upon a child, becomes lifelong torment. My eldest brother later told me James Carter's reputation was in ruins. The company had no choice but to file for bankruptcy. In desperation, he began selling his remaining assets, grasping at straws to clean up the mess. Who would have thought that the assets James Carter acquired through Sophia Bennett's connections were all tied up in criminal records, or worse, owned by banks or the court. Desperate and broke, James Carter shamelessly reached out to Sophia, demanding the expensive gifts he'd once given her. But Sophia Bennett, now hiding out in Thailand to avoid public backlash, mocked him online. His pleas meant nothing. At last, James saw the true colors of the woman he once idolized as so-called by Yue Guang. Sophia Bennett was nothing more than a calculated, self-serving egotist. She thought having a new backer meant she could do whatever she wanted. What she underestimated was how dangerous a desperate man can become. Even a sinking ship has a few nails left. James paid off local gangs and offered them a hefty commission. One moment Sophia was sunbathing on a Thai beach. The next, she was blindfolded and tied to a car, en route to Mayawati. Meanwhile, James's parents, finally released from the hospital with their burn scars still fresh, returned to find their once luxurious mansion long mortgaged. All that remained was an old 3-bedroom house, barely enough for the two of them. The plummet from privilege shattered the fragile pride of the Carter elders. Swallowing their shame, they brought pitiful gifts and came to the Thompson estate to visit their daughter-in-law. But the family's housekeeper met them at the gate. Daughter-in-law? You mean Sophia Bennett, your beloved Carter daughter-in-law, right? Don't come here pretending to be related to our young lady. You're nothing but rotting garbage trying to pass as respectable. She hurled insults without hesitation. What's the point of showing your faces now? I don't even have leftovers for strays today. Get lost. Humiliated, the Carters went home crying. They begged James Carter to do something, anything. They refused to accept the divorce and demanded he make peace. They said I could name any condition as long as I was willing to remarry. If he didn't, they'd end their lives. As expected, James Carter came groveling. He stood outside the Thompson gates for days. My aunt cursed at him nonstop, but he didn't flinch. I've never seen someone this shameless. His ancestors must be spinning in their graves. Is he deaf or just stupid? What is he even kneeling there for? His damn knees aren't even worth dirtying the marble with. I told my aunt to ignore him. Let him kneel. I wanted to see just how far this once arrogant man would go. My brother and uncle weren't so passive. The Carter family's a cornered dog. They'll do anything when desperate, Uncle warned. Double the security. Barking dogs may not bite, but I don't trust rabid ones. Why not just drive him away? My brother asked. Uncle's eyes were cold. Because I want to see where the Carter family's bottom truly is. My niece's child died in vain. If they're going to grovel, let them do it in the dirt. Just as predicted, James's parents called the local Bang Bang News hotline and begged for media attention right in front of our home. Through tearful sobs, they told their story. We were deceived too. Who could have imagined Sophia was so cruel? We don't even have a place to stay anymore. Our son's company is gone. We don't ask for forgiveness. We just want to see our daughter-in-law alive and well. That's all. James Carter regrets everything. He's been kneeling for 2 days and nights. Please, let go of the hatred. The reporter turned to James. Mr. Carter, do you have anything you want to say to Miss Sue? James looked utterly destroyed. Gone was the arrogant Ivy League returnee. His custom suit looked like it had been rolled in pickled cabbage. His shoes were dusty and cracked. He looked into the camera, face unshaven and drawn, speaking with what he thought was sincerity. Miao Yun, I was wrong. I finally see who Sophia Bennett really is. I'm sorry about the baby.
If you want me dead, I'll die right now.
Just please forgive me. It was all her fault.
I swear.
Please come out. Please, he wept, crying daughter-in-law, as if the title could erase everything he'd done. Our neighborhood was filled with the elite entrepreneurs, celebrities, officials. James was clearly putting on a public show to force reconciliation. My aunt, standing just behind the iron gate with a dirty mop bucket, looked ready to throw it on him. I stopped her and walked out, flanked by bodyguards. When James saw me, his eyes lit up like a man seeing light after years in a cave. Miao Yun, thank you for coming out. I knew you still cared. I was blinded by greed. I hurt you and the baby. I deserve whatever punishment you give me. He babbled like a man possessed. Everything was Sophia's manipulation. She turned us against each other. But I've fixed it. I've avenged our baby. She won't bother us again. You always forgave me before. Please, just once more. Let's start again. Boy or girl, I'll treasure our next child like a gem. He knelt again, scraping his knees that wouldn't even bend when he proposed. But I looked at him with nothing but emptiness. It wasn't love, it was pity, disgust, and closure. James Carter wasn't repenting. He was just reacting to his losses. A man who's truly sorry doesn't need to lose everything to realize his sins. He still framed himself as the victim. He still blamed Sophia. I've changed, he insisted. I've turned over a new leaf. I raised a hand to silence him. Chapter 8. Even a 3-year-old knows how to take responsibility, I said coldly. And you, James Carter, the Ivy League-educated, elite entrepreneur, are here blaming everything on Sophia Bennett? Pathetic. Did Sophia Bennett hold your hand and make you send me to test experimental drugs? Was it her who controlled you when you forced me to get an abortion? I stared at James Carter, every word sharp as a knife. Everything was allowed condemn you. Your so-called revenge for the child was nothing but desperation after Sophia Bennett refused to return your money. James looked at me, red-eyed and trembling, lips parting as if to respond, then closed again in shameful silence. A reporter nearby, apparently moved by the performance, tried to offer him an out. Emma, she began gently. They say a prodigal son returned is worth more than gold. Mr. James has clearly paid the price. If you still pity him, take him home. And if not, what's the point of all this? Just compensate his poor family and move on. I turned to her with icy sarcasm. Then why don't you take him home? Or better yet, support his entire family yourself. I didn't wait for her to respond. I waved my hand, and 7 or 8 media bloggers people who had long cooperated with the Thompson family rushed out from nearby, phones already recording. They had been lying in wait for this moment, streaming live. The netizens in their rooms had already seen the video clips of me praying for my lost child. With the Carter family's fall from grace, the comment barrage was ruthless. Even the TV program promoting forgiveness was pulled midair by the station after an avalanche of complaints. So, you won't forgive me, Miaoyan? James asked again, his voice hoarse and his body barely upright. I narrowed my eyes. James Carter, who do you think you're performing for? Are you really here to beg for my forgiveness? Or are you begging the Thompson family to give you another blood transfusion? I scoffed. You used to look down on me, the girl from a village in the city, and now look at you, kneeling in the dirt, begging the woman you disdained to save you. Pathetic. If the Thompson family ever spends money on beggars like you, we'd be better off burning that cash with the trash. The Carter family thinks they can crawl back to power through us? Dream on. I didn't hold back. I ripped off the mask they had been wearing since day one. If I weren't the Thompson family's daughter, you'd never have come to me. And even if I told you who I was from the beginning, you'd just have changed tactics to exploit me. I don't regret hiding my identity. If anything, I'm grateful I did. Because now I know exactly who you are. James clutched his chest. I know I'm hateful. I know I failed you, Miaoyan. But I'll kneel here until the end of time. If I die here, I'll go down first and wait for our child. He didn't leave. His knees were stuck in place, as if they had grown roots. But his words only made me sick. You dare mention the child now? I laughed bitterly. You still think you can use our child to manipulate me? Fine, I said coldly. Kneel if you want. I want to see just how long your cheekbones and your shameless parents can last. I gave a final glance and waved my hand. Shut the gates. The bodyguards closed the iron doors. James lingered for a while, but luxury and comfort had long been ingrained in his parents. Within half a day, one of them fainted and was taken away by ambulance. Not long after, my brother made a quiet call to some debt collectors. That same night, James Carter was forced to sell his last remaining property and fled back to his rural hometown with his parents, hiding in shame. I thought I'd heard the last of him, until I received a strange message from an unfamiliar account. Stranger, do you want to see James Carter die? Time, tonight, 9 p.m. Sharp. Link, live broadcast URL. At first, I assumed it was some sick prank. But then I found out everyone who had ever interacted with James Carter got the same message. Still, nobody took it seriously. James Carter was nothing now, just a stray dog kicked out of the city. But curiosity tugged at me. At 9 o'clock, I opened the link with my new boyfriend beside me. The screen came to life: James Carter, sitting in an oil drum. Chapter 9. Hee hee, James Carter, look. A woman's distorted voice echoed in the broadcast. Only 7 people in the live stream. I waited a whole day. No one even bothered calling the police for you. Her voice was familiar, chillingly so. I scanned the screen, trying to locate Sophia Bennett. Then suddenly Bama's monstrous face filled the frame. I jolted. My boyfriend grabbed me instinctively. On the screen was a corpse, eyes wide open in death. My breath caught. I couldn't describe the horror of the face, but I recognized the mole on the ear: James's mother. Before I could process that, the camera shook and revealed an iron cage. Inside was a bloody, mangled lump of flesh. Dogs barked in a frenzy. Amid the carnage, a single arm was still visible, wrapped in a multicolored rope I knew belonged to James's father. That wasn't even the main show. That was just the appetizer. Sophia still hadn't appeared. I motioned for my boyfriend to call the police. He contacted the officer we had coordinated with previously. The signal just pinged. "Stay where you were, moving in." The response brought a sliver of relief. I steadied myself. The phone, which had been swinging violently, was now placed back in its bracket. The real horror was just beginning. The fixed camera lens zoomed in on James Carter, curled up inside the oil barrel. His eyes were open, but there was no focus, just a hollow emptiness, as if his soul had long fled his scorched body. Then, finally, Sophia Bennett appeared. She danced beside the barrel, wearing a short-sleeved shirt and hot pants. Her waist twisted with eerie rhythm, her skin crisscrossed with whip marks. It wasn't hard to imagine what she had endured, or perhaps enjoy it in whatever hell she had crawled out of. Then came the main course. "Time for teppanyaki," she said with a deranged grin, striking a match. With theatrical flair, she dropped it into the barrel.
Whoosh.
Flames erupted like a volcanic surge. The heat engulfed James Carter, and only then did he start to react, screaming, flailing, clawing at the barrel's edge. His delayed struggle made it all the more grotesque. Outside the screen, I gripped my boyfriend's hand tightly. "Don't move," I said firmly. "Hands up. Focus on saving him first." The police stormed the location just as the live broadcast cut off. Later, as I gave my second official statement, I asked the officer on duty about James Carter's condition. "The burns weren't the most fatal," he explained. "What really did it was whatever Sophia Bennett injected into him before setting the fire. Some unknown compound. His liver is failing completely, shutting down." I stood outside the ICU, watching James through the glass. Tubes ran from every part of his body. His facino, everything was unrecognizable. Gasoline had stripped him of all skin and identity. His chest barely moved under the weight of machines. 3 critical condition notices had already been issued. My boyfriend, a doctor who used to work at James's sanatorium, stood beside me. Back when I was imprisoned and drugged, he was the one who secretly contacted my brother and uncle. He had swapped the experimental drug intended for me with harmless nutrient fluid and called the police behind the scenes. "I doubt he'll make it through the night," he whispered after consulting the attending physician. Then he looked at me carefully and asked, "Is it wrong to say he brought this on himself?" I stared at James Carter, emotionless. "It's exactly what he deserved," I replied. After leaving the hospital, I never asked about him again. I didn't care to. Later, my brother and uncle mentioned in passing that James Carter had died, despite emergency efforts. The Carter family left not a single soul behind. Right before Sophia Bennett's death sentence was confirmed in the second trial, she requested to see me. I didn't go. That part of my life was done, closed, buried, incinerated like James in that barrel. What was left was my future.